Don't you want it? 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 You lose your little mind. My Deadlights.
So welcome to the Deadlights podcast. Minnie, I'm your host, Minnie Sam.
I'm Minnie Leslie, bringing you your Mininess!
Minniness.
Mini!
You need the Minniness.
Minisode.
Whoa.
You've been Minnesota-fied.
Minnie satisfies. Yeah, you know it.
Yeah, welcome!
Welcome to the mini space.
Yes.
So today we are actually doing a legitimate mini style of our full show.
Yeah!
We're going to do a little mini review of a movie that we both saw this week.
Yeah.
And one that has just come out in theaters, which is Men.
Men!
From 2022. Written and directed by Alex Garland.
Alex Garland!
So I saw this movie this past Monday, and then you saw it yesterday. And then we kind of came together today for this podcast and ended up having like a hour and a half discussion about it, which fair.
Yeah. Fair.
We could probably have gone longer.
Yep.
So we thought, hey, why don't we just talk about it a little bit here?
Absolutely.
Because I think that it very much deserves to be talked about. It, to me, was great.
Yes.
I thoroughly enjoyed Men, and
You thoroughly enjoy.
I thoroughly enjoy Men. And
you heard it here, ladies and men.
Ladies and men. And it was just so from like it really just like hits all the points of what I love in movies. It's creepy, first of all, and it is visually beautiful. It is bloody, practical effects and body horror, and it is really honing in and talking about something. It's not just a movie to be scary. It is like commenting on and criticizing abusive relationships and how men and women view each other in those relationships, and
what it's done afterwards. You know,
blame and guilt are huge parts of the movie, and I think it lands that plane very well. Yeah. And I had a great time.
I did as well. Like I was telling you, I was I was the only one having big reactions, because I tend to when I'm watching movies in general.
We know this.
We know this. And so I had a really good time. And the thing is, there's a fine line between having commentary and then going overboard. I want to say that I wasn't being disrespectful. I still was trying to keep it low. Like if I had anything to say, it was a whisper to myself or to my partner, Adam. So I wasn't being, intrusive.
Yeah.
I was literally just reacting and I think I had a moment in which I did yell. Because there was moments of jump scare, but they weren't like the typical jump scares, which I liked. I enjoyed those a little bit more, of just kind of like, don't like the little man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think anybody can draw their own conclusions. I think there's 2 of them by the end of the movie. They should do it or not. And not to like spoil everything, so
spoiler alert, we're probably going to talk about some things in this that if you haven't seen it, maybe pause this episode right now, go check it out, make your own opinions about it, because what I love about this movie is that there is so much to talk about in it. It opens up not only a discussion about what actually happened in the movie physically and how it ends and what we think happened after, but it also opens up a discussion about relationships and abusive relationships and more bigger themes, how relationships are viewed in religion and how they're viewed in other aspects. And it just opens up a door to have a much larger conversation than what did actually happen in the movie. And so I just felt like, and I told you this before, it felt like it was opening up the door for these conversations without going overboard and without like shoving it in our face of like, this is what this movie is about. This is what this movie is trying to say. It was commenting on
there
things.
Was themes.
There was themes that were I thought, very well explored, that then were able to give us an opportunity to talk about those themes even more and go more in depth with them than the movie did.
Yeah.
It just like really opens that door for these themes.
These conversations. Yeah, because in general, there's talks about suicide. Our ex-husband is threatening to kill himself if Harper leaves him.
Yeah.
And to hear those words, to then have somebody's life in your hands in that way is so traumatic. And because you do want to help a person when they do like want to commit suicide,
especially your partner,
especially someone that you loved, and still care for, even though you are breaking up with them. But like, that is a big reason to leave. You cannot help them any further. You are not their lifesaver.
Yeah.
The way that they want you to be. It's a big role in that person, you would hope, can go to therapy and be able to talk about these things, and perhaps get out of that what's the word?
Get out of that
codependency.
Yes.
Which I think in both relationships, I'm speaking in my own experience, but you start developing a codependency towards each other, the abuser and the abused. And you're just intertwined in these kind of like pool and like
love and pain become very intertwined.
Well, they're in the same fucking area of your brain.
Yeah.
You know? So once someone gets treated that way, you feel like that is the only thing you deserve. So coming out of it and somebody showing you tenderness, it's like hard. You think it's a lie. Because you're like, why aren't you screaming at me? Why aren't we fighting? You know? And you're like seeking that because that's what you've known.
Yeah.
So
that was definitely Harper, the main character's journey through this movie, was to... She was trying to escape. First of all, obviously escape this this abusive relationship, but also just escape in general. She goes to a chateau far in the country, deep woods.
So freaking beautiful.
Amazing.
Unnecessarily big.
Yes, but great house. And she's really just looking to escape from those feelings. But I think that her big journey through this movie is to not only escape him and the memories that the scary and shitty memories that she had with him, but also to realize that none of that was her fault. You know, so many times, and you already talked about it, is these people that get abused in these relationships, even when they are out of the relationship, there's still this like hanging around guilt of like, what did I do to make this person abuse me? What did I do to make this person kill themselves? And she's telling people in the movie, I shouldn't be blamed. I shouldn't be blamed. But you can tell that she
doesn't really believe it.
Yeah, she doesn't believe what she's saying. She still feels guilt about what happened. And her catharsis in the movie is to realize that this person that I was with does not know love and does not know how to love. And that's not my fault.
Yeah.
None of that is my fault. That is them. And I don't deserve what they did to me. And I don't deserve to be carrying this around anymore.
Yeah. Because a lot of the time, these people can't speak for every fucking abuser, but a lot of the time these people are hurting in one way or another, and they're treating you the way that they treat themselves. Like, they have no love for themselves. So they're just, like, essentially holding a mirror and seeing you as them. And, like, how are you expected to give your love to someone that doesn't love themselves? It will never be enough.
Yes.
It will never be enough. And regardless of what you do or how many years you stay with them, it will never be enough.
Yeah.
And I think that's what his character just couldn't let go of, is the idea of not having someone to be there for him constantly. And he had attached everything to this person, and she no longer could be that person for him, because there is a line that she says, like, I have a life too. I have a life too. Yeah. Because she was telling him, like, I'm hurting. And he was like, how are you victimizing yourself when I'm the victim? And she's like, he's like,
you're leaving me. How dare you make yourself the victim?
Yeah.
And she's like, but I have a life too. I have to do what's right for me.
Yeah.
And he just could not accept that.
No, because he does not respect her. He does not see her as a person, So, like, how dare you say that the thing that you need from her is love?
Yeah.
When she had given to you time and time again.
When you definitely did not deserve it.
No.
And I think that is part of the brilliance of this movie, is that even though she's trying to escape, she goes to a place where she's seeing the same man in all the men that are in this little town. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing different ways that men, and specifically the man in her life, her ex-husband, have mentally and physically abused her. In all these men, which are all played by the same actor, we see the different sides of, like, how you can be manipulated. We have the caretaker, who is seemingly like this protective guy who is
nice and very, like, meek
and
to themselves,
polite and very non-threatening. We have a priest who is using religion and the Bible as kind of an excuse for, maybe you do deserve this. We see a young boy who is very troubled, and that's kind of like this, like, almost like this bad seed element to this movie, that maybe her husband had trauma that he went through, and that is what is now causing him to act out in this way towards her. And then in the end, we see all these people kind of morphing together to make her husband. So all these men that are played by the same character, or played by the same actor, all come together literally in the end, which you'll have to see visually, because it's a wild ending.
Yeah.
Literally all coming together to make him.
Yeah.
And
this kind, and that's the thing, you might experience different kinds of abuse, but at the end, it's still the same kind of, I don't want to call a story, but, like, it's the same.
Abuse is abuse.
It's rooted in the same fucking tree.
In the same tree. Which I absolutely love, that another element of this movie is that we are also getting so much visuals that relate to Adam and Eve. Mm-hmm. And this original sin, which, like, she feels blame for the situation that she's been in. And then we're seeing visuals of the original Bible story about how the world started with women being blamed for the original sin. And so this, like, inherent guilt that women feel about the world, essentially. Yeah. And so we're seeing, like, there's, like, this juxtaposition and, like, this comparison that we have between the story of Adam and Eve and abusive relationships. And I absolutely love that visual motif that Alex Garland kept going back to. We have her picking an apple off of the tree. We have this, like, Adam-like man who is, like, very like, made of nature, You know, it's like Tree Man kind of thing that keeps
Tree Man
keeps stalking her, and it's, I think, yes, it's a criticism of religion in a way, but it feels like more than that. You know, it's not
a lot more than
it's
that.
not just Catholicism. Yeah. It's really just the world in general.
But that is a big conversation also, because it is something that when it comes to the Bible and some religions, is that women are inherently evil. Mm-hmm. We are mistreated because we are the ones that made man, evil. And it's like a big ass fuck you. Like, what in the world? Mm-hmm. No.
And
why are we having this story be the thing that fucking dictates us in the world? And we don't, we women, I'm going to speak for everyone, don't fucking deserve that.
No way.
And
it's a projection that men and these institutions just throw up.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing too, like, women aren't the only ones that get mistreated in a relationship. It's all types of people. So we need to stop the cycle. We need to understand each other, communicate our feelings. Like, there's just a lot of healing that we all need to have in order for us to even be with somebody, And
I didn't, when I was watching it, I really, because it's called Men, and it's obviously about her relationship with an abusive man, but I never really felt like it was Alex Garland criticizing men. You know, it didn't feel like an attack on a gender. It felt more of like
a societal.
Yeah, it felt more like, like, this is all of us that need to start changing how we think about people.
Yeah, because I think I was asked, like, what do you think this movie's trying to say? And I really honed into a specific scene in which the priest is talking to Harper and essentially being like, you are the reason why I think I have these thoughts. You're the reason why I'm this way, of this fucking creep and, like, rapist. Like, you are the reason. Like, you're a woman. You have these bodies.
You're a siren. You're a seductress just because of your body, essentially.
Yeah. Just because she's a fucking being that has a vagina and boobs. Like, and that was enough for him to then start imagining at what age she, like, had sex and what other things that she's learned and what she's good at. And, and he's, like, undressing her in his mind the whole time that he's, like, talking to her. And that is what the conversation is. Like, we need to stop sexualizing people and humans and women. We are so much more than just somebody's pleasure. And because if we, hopefully, we stop that, we can then reduce the amount of abuse that happens within relationships.
Yeah.
And in general.
Yeah.
Just any sort of, no violence.
No violence.
No violence, please.
No violence.
No violence.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And then on top of all these themes that run deep in this movie, it was beautiful.
It was gorgeous.
It was incredibly shot. The location we kind of talked about already is like this countryside, old chateau, old buildings, amazing forests to shoot in. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like, I don't know who the location scout was, but they found a great spot to shoot.
It was wonderful.
And just a lot of, like, a lot of slow motion, a lot of music, and it was...
I love when films incorporate moss growing in trees. And, like, I mean, one of our characters was literally supposed to be the god of, like, regrowth and rebirth and stuff. But, like, I feel like only documentaries talking about, like, Animal Planet and stuff is that's when you get these very beautiful landscape, like, cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, like, really nice to just have a pause before things got really crazy in this movie. And another theme that I wanted to talk about quickly was the fact that our main girl, Harper, she was only naked once, and, like, we didn't see her body at all.
No.
Like, she was drawing a bath, and it was normal. And then we only had, literally, all of the men in the movie were naked.
Yeah.
Full frontal.
A lot of dick.
But, like, it didn't feel intrusive, you know, the way that, like, we tend to sexualize women. It was just the fact that things happen in this movie for them to be naked, for the men to be naked. The only time that it was like, oh my God, that man is naked and dangerous is when she was alone in the woods. That's the only time that I was, like, frightened for her, because I was like, holy shit, what does this mean? But then you just kind of accepted that this character is naked.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing sexualized about him, lewd or anything. So, like, why can't we view women's bodies that way too? Like, why do we make such a big deal that somebody has their tits out, boobs, breasts, or, you know, like, want to show whatever kind of part about themselves? Why are we sexualizing that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. This movie. While this movie is so much about sexualizing women in particular, but just people in general, very little sexy moments. Like, no, there really wasn't any sexy moments.
No.
It was just very. Whenever, like, a sexual moment happened, it was more gross. You're like,
it
ugh.
was something that you didn't want to see.
No.
And that's another thing. I'm glad they didn't go there.
Me too. They didn't need to.
No.
They didn't need to. And I think that there's moments where this movie definitely pushes buttons as far as abuse and sex, but they never, to me, push it too far. Mm-hmm. It's enough for us to feel a certain type of way about it, and it's placed well enough in the movie where it makes sense for our character and for her emotional journey, and for our emotional journey too, as the audience watching it. And nothing's felt too exploitative or gratuitous. Everything just felt like I said, it just felt like he was able to really land that plane very well on this discussion that he opened up in the movie.
Yeah. And also, just going back a little bit, because I was thinking about how also in Euphoria this second season, we saw a lot more dicks.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, somebody was like, that was too much dick. I didn't want to see that much dick. But, like, if you were to see every single fucking character's boobs, you wouldn't have batted an eye.
No.
You know? Your eyes would have been wide open. So, like, we can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
You know? We need to stop sexualizing women's bodies, especially when it comes to films and you're trying to tell a story. Ask yourself, why am I having to show this person naked? Is it because I literally need to sex sells, or I am literally trying to say something with them? And a man can do it just as easily, and I think we're seeing more and more now, more dicks, more full frontal, but women have been doing it for fucking ever.
Yeah.
We've only seen men's asses.
For the most
and
part.
You know what? Sorry, men, but your asses aren't that great.
Sorry, dudes. No, you're totally right. It's like, it needs to be normalized.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, he did kind of normalize it. You know, at a certain point, when I saw their dicks, I was like, oh yeah, that is it.
That is what's going on right now.
That's what's happening. And I wasn't sitting there thinking, oh, well, where are the boobs? You know, like, everything was so rooted in the story. Everything had a purpose.
And the conversation that we're
having. Nothing, like I said, nothing felt gratuitous. Nothing felt too far. And he is bringing up a very touchy subject. And so for him to toe that line so well, I'm just like even more impressed that he was able to open up this conversation without it becoming too gratuitous or feeling like he's like really pushing an agenda on us. It felt like we can have a conversation about it and talk about like a lot of sides of it.
Yeah, it definitely is one. Like he knew that we were going to sit down and talk about it. Us specifically.
Us, yeah. Thank you.
We see you.
Thanks, Alex.
No, but like in that sense, it reminded me of Midsummer. Kind of, we hit moments of abusive relationships in that film as well, and it's not in your face, and we get beautiful shots and beautiful sceneries. I feel like men definitely had an even more openness to it. We definitely saw moments of physical abuse.
And mental, for sure.
And mental, for sure. And that's the escalation. Yeah. An abuser doesn't completely come forward and be like, this is who I am. Bam.
Yeah.
He's going to draw you in.
Yeah.
Because he needs somebody. He needs somebody to fucking abuse, and there's tactics to it. And you don't escalate to violence until you're about to fucking lose it.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think Midsummer, I feel like people could watch Midsummer. Some people could watch Midsummer, and those themes just go over their head because they probably have been in a relationship like that or are in a relationship like that, and are like, this is how it is. You know? That movie was way more about gaslighting, for sure, too.
Yeah.
This movie, it's hard to ignore the abuse, the abusiveness, and the mental and physical abuse that was going on within her life. And so, whether you want to or not, whether it goes down easy or not, this movie felt a little bit more digestible, almost, than Midsummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, and we haven't talked about this yet, but definitely need to mention that this is an incredibly acted movie as well.
It was.
The main actress is incredible. The one that plays Harper. There was intense moments between her and her ex-husband where you're seeing these moments of mental abuse that she's going through and the struggle that she's going through.
Think about any fucking breakup that you've ever had.
Yeah.
And then intensify that. Hopefully you don't need to experience an abusive relationship or trying to break up with somebody who's abusive. But it's fucking hard. And the whole time I'm just like, I'm on the edge of my seat. It was uncomfortable in the best way possible because he was able to capture something that's so hard.
Those moments between her and her ex-husband are great. And then afterwards, now that she's out of that relationship, dealing with the unwanted and unwarranted guilt that she does feel, like, that was incredible too, to see that performance of her. Like, we see moments of bliss, like, I'm so free, but then she gets trapped in these moments of guilt again too. And I mean, she was great. The main actress was just she sold it so well. And there was a lot of moments where there wasn't much talking, but we knew what was going on because she was able to. Her performance was just so good. And then her ex-husband was great. Really sold that, like, abuser, like, poor me, like, narcissistic.
But, he was also so, like, calm. You would...
He didn't seem threatening.
He didn't seem threatening, and that's what's so dangerous about people, is that a lot of the times they sell you on their looks and their charm. And But like he was well acted, and also the man of the man. The
man who was playing all the different men. I mean, he played like a caretaker. He played an old priest. He played a little boy. There was a scene in a bar where he's playing 4 people at the same time.
Those were him?
Yeah, those are all him. Every single one of those
Not
people.
the cop, though.
Yes, the cop.
Shut the fuck up.
He was the cop as well. Every single man in that town was him, except for that lady cop.
Literally, Adam was like, he is everyone. And I'm like, yeah. And then I connected the priest and him because of the fucking teeth. And I was like, oh, shit. And then Adam's like, yes. Like, the little kid is also him. And I was like,
okay.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
And he's like, when did you figure that out? And I was like, literally, like, moments before you told me.
Like, right before you said it out loud. But yeah, no, and that is a testament to his performance because he was able to individualize each of those characters so well. They each had their own way that they walk, they stand, they talk. They used
CGI to kind of blur out the any
kind of form him into different bodies, but you could still tell that it was the same guy.
I mean, those teeth, you cannot CGI those teeth.
Yeah, exactly. And I good on him for, being able to separate those characters and
physicalization, the way that he spoke, everything. Holy. I need to see it again.
Yeah. And that's also another thing that I look for in like a movie that I really enjoy is the watchability. And I really feel like I want to watch this movie again. Yeah. And when I do watch it again, I'll notice even more things, pick up on more themes, on more shots, more little clues maybe that he's throwing in here and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot to this movie. And but even after the first watch, it doesn't seem like too much. It's a very, very cool and fine line that he was able to toe in this filmmaking.
Well, I am excited. We have it in our bucket. So once we pull it out again and see it for the second time or third time, if we can't fucking wait, I'm excited to see what other conversations can inspire from that.
Yeah. And this was just a little mini preview of what we thought about this movie. And please go see it.
Please go see it. Be safe. There's still, COVID and stuff, but please do support theaters, any local anything. Any little shops, restaurants, theaters. Like, I would hate for us to go purely streaming. We've had a Minisode about this already, but theaters are so important. So go and support them and support directors and actors and any creative person.
And in the spirit of this movie, the last thing I'll leave you with is if you are in an abusive relationship, mental, physical, like, please reach out to someone. Please tell someone. Don't be afraid and know you're not alone, too. I think this movie makes those situations, whether you have been in an abusive relationship or not, it makes it so relatable. Yeah. So please do yourself a favor and give yourself what you deserve. And
it's never too late.
It's never too late.
Even if you've been with somebody, I know it would be really hard to leave somebody if you've been with them for 20 years or 5 years or 1 year, and even if you don't know, and that's the hardest thing about being in an abusive relationship, sometimes you don't know, but just talk to somebody. If you have a gut feeling that something is going wrong or, you just need help, get somebody else's perspective, get other stories, and hopefully you'll realize that it is not normal to be in that kind of situation. So,
and you don't deserve it.
You don't deserve it. No.
Oh, men. 2022.
Fuck you.
Woo, fuck me.
Fuck you.
Yeah. All right.
Let's get out of here.
Have a Minisode space.
You can visit. God damn. You can visit my Instagram. I color me Leslie.
And you can visit my Instagram at beepbeeprichieT and also the Deadlights Pod. That is us. Check out Playground Social, which is the studio that we are recording this at.
Right here.
But until next Minisode.
Let's get mini spooky.
Now that we're men, I changed my underwear.
Now that we're men.